Welcome to Intuitive Real Talk, the podcast where I'm going to cut through all the BS. I'm going to light a fire under your spiritual ass, and I'm going to remind you your intuition isn't weird. It is your superpower. Hi, I'm Stephanie, a psychic medium, intuitive coach, animal communicator, paranormal expert. Yep, all the things intuitive. I'm also a professional truth dropper. So, what are we going to do here? We're going to dive into it all. Shadow work, spirit talk, intuitive gifts, and yep, even aliens, like a spiritual dumpster dive, but with purpose. There's going to be no gatekeeping, no fluff, no performative love and light bullshit, just raw, unfiltered conversations for people who know they came here to shake shit up. Let's get into it. Okay, so this episode is going to be about shadow work. Shadow work is when we start to awaken and we start to look at the shadows within us, the things that are burdening us, our wounds, our trauma, the areas that make us feel like we're not being seen or heard or that we're not good enough. And these can be a variety of wounds of things that happen either as a child, it could be a past life, it could be a lineage, it could be generational, it could be this life. And so it is weaved all around, if that makes sense. So when we think about shadow work, what we are talking about is that you are doing the inner work. And I'm not talking about Western counseling, nothing like that. This is all an intuitive type work. So you're uncovering and unfolding who you are supposed to be because you are this badass galactic light being that is having a human experience right now. So you are essentially consciousness in a human shell having an experience to either one, heal yourself, grow yourself, you name it. And so when we look at the shadow work, at first, when we start to do that, if you're awakening either as a child, as an adult, something happened where you're starting to question or you're starting to be the black sheep or you're just saying, F it, I need to do the massive healing. What this means is it's all about having you do kind of, I've heard people say it's like the dark night of the soul. You know what I mean? It sounds a little dramatic, but when you're an emotional person where you're like, I feel a lot of emotions, or if you haven't been accustomed to feeling a lot of emotions, you shut down, whatever, it can feel very almost like I'm ripping a Band-Aid off over and over and it hurts. And so there are levels of shadow work, aka healing intuitively. The first level will feel at first like the hardest, like that dark night of the soul, where you're diving in, you're uncovering your blocks, you're working on your wounds. And this could be parental wounds, it could be wounds as a child, abuse wounds, you name it. They're all these wounds that make us feel something or they make us uncover something. Like, I didn't realize I was blocking myself because of X, Y, and Z. Or my family has always struggled with money. And so now I struggle with money. Or I always would afford money because I have this block. And so it's very 3D type of healing. But it will feel very difficult at first because, one, you're not accustomed to looking deep into yourself. And so you'll almost be like, oh, shice, that was hard. That kind of sucked because I'm not accustomed to looking within. I'm not accustomed of unfolding. I'm not accustomed to investing in myself. So we always think, oh shit, that was so hard, right? In actuality, it actually isn't as hard. That's level one. Think about playing a game. The first one, you're just like, and you get through this video game and you're like, wow, that actually wasn't as hard as I thought it would be. But each level becomes more difficult, right? And because it's becoming more difficult, you'll get a weapon or you'll be gifted with something. And so that's the same thing with shadow work healing. The first one is like, whew, I ripped off that Band-Aid. I see all this shit I got to work on and I got to heal. And so I think, whew, I'm working on this. I'm doing so good. But this opened up a new part of yourself, right? Because you just unfolded and let go of something. So now it's opening up so that it's allowing something else to flow for you. And so you're almost like being gifted something, aka you're just uncovering who you are. So you're not playing this certain game anymore. And so then you have all these levels where now you're adding in what you're dealing with now, but now you may have a lineage, generational issue that's going where I have this generation of money issue or children issue or abuse issue or not speaking my truth or being too much or being intuitive and I can't do that or I have whatever. And then now we're going to add on the layer of generational trauma. And so then I'm like, oh my gosh, now I got to add on, okay, I've unfolded this, but now I'm carrying this because subconsciously I am carrying this on because this was dwelled into me in some way. Some sort of, you have to live up to this expectation because now I got the collective also on here, right? Where this community expects this from me. So I got to unfold that. And then I have my ancestral part where let's say that there was a person in your family that was a business owner and they lost their business and they lost all their money, but everyone keeps getting a business and they do really well and then they lose all their money and then it just keeps going and then all of a sudden people are like either really poor or they've worked their ass off and they got this certain amount of money and they're hoarding it. So it's like an ancestral energy that I'm carrying. Or if you think about certain individuals, they feel this rage, they're carrying this rage and they don't know why they carry this rage, but some sort of ancestor or ancestors were abused in some way and it wasn't resolved because they couldn't speak their truth, whatever. And so it keeps coming down. And so there's this rage. And so you have to heal that now too. But you'll think it's yours, right? Not realizing it's an ancestor that you have to do ancestral work for. Now you have to also add in your past lives. So in a past life, you could have where you were assaulted in some way, and this lineage also has a lot of abuse. So you're born into it. So you have your past life rage, you have this rage, and so now you're doing the work so your ancestors don't have to keep coming back in to heal this lineage. You heal yourself, which heals your past life. You're doing the work for future generations and yourself. So this is why you will always feel like you're always healing, like it's never ending, because we have so many intricate parts that once you start to unfold, unpeel one spot, you'll unpeel another. And then something else will happen that'll trigger either you, ancestral, generational, because it's not like it's just one thing that they had to deal with, right? And then you might have married into a line that you had agreed with. I will help heal this line. And you might have children that come into this world that now you have to help heal so that they don't have it happen to them. And so when we think of shadow work is very complex and it will become more difficult, but you'll learn to almost detach the emotion part. So it won't be like, oh my gosh, I'm lost in this. I'm stuck in this. This sucks. Instead, you'll almost be like, ooh, why did this just trigger me? Is this mine? Is it collective? Is it ancestral? You'll take that moment because the more adept you get to it, the more you'll start to realize, oh shit, this isn't mine to carry. I don't have to carry this. I don't need to feel this block anymore. Because the more you detach emotionally, what's going to happen is everything will start to flow. So when you are triggered, you'll almost be like, okay, yeah, I didn't realize I was carrying that, which was subconsciously blocking me from manifesting money, from living my purpose, from speaking my truth. So, for example, this morning, I was doing a lot of cord cutting because that's the other thing you'll have to do with shadow work is a lot of cord cutting, emotional, energetic, ancestral, past life. There is, again, lots of layers. And so when you're on this journey, it's not like the whole time you're thinking, oh my God, what's the next thing that's coming? Because when you do that, you actually block yourself. Instead, you're going to be thinking, when something triggers me, whether it's a good trigger or a bad trigger, it will, and by bad trigger, I mean it's causing a negative effect or a stuck feeling or a looping feeling, then I'll understand, ooh, this is something I have to dig deep in. There's some sort of wound I'm carrying. Now, if it's a good trigger, that means you're doing the shadow work, but it's also saying, hey, I want you to know you're getting triggered to see if you can accept the good in your life now too. The other great thing about shadow work is every time you unpeel a wound or a generational or an ancestral, you unlock something in you, another gift that was already there. You're just uncovering it. It's kind of like you just brushed off the dust and now I can see who I am. It allows us to speak our truth. It allows us to live our journey instead of the collective or the family or the work. You will walk to the beat of your own drum in a way that's healthy for your journey. You won't live everyone else's journey. So while shadow work sounds very complex, is, but at the same time, it's just letting you know that's why they always say you will be healing all of your life, but that you have to let go. You have to honor yourself. So this morning, I was doing some ancestral healing. I'm a water person. So that's the other thing is to know, is water important to you? Is earth important to you? Is fire important to you? Is, whatever is important to you that powers you up, that it gives you that, it almost allows you to have that inner peace so that this way you can allow things to flow. What it does is it allows you to really start to be creative. And so this morning when I was doing ancestral healing, I coughed and all this phlegm was coming up and all this yuckness was coming up because I had ancestral, because a lot of times when I'm working with people that are having ancestral ties, they will cut the ties and do all the things, but they'll start coughing and coughing. And I'm like, cough it, get it out, spit out the phlegm, do the things, because you have been carrying your body, because it can become sick if you don't do the shadow work healing. Your body is carrying that and holding on to that. This can be weight, it could be pain, it could be always having to clear your throat. Your human shell holds on to the emotions and the stuck energy from all the generational, all the things. And so it's constantly telling you, hey, these are the things you need to let go. These are the things you need to go towards. And so when you start to feel the need to cough, don't stop it, but then also look within and be like, ooh, why did I have to clear my throat before I had to say that thing? Ooh, why did this just happen? And why is my back always hurting? You know what I mean? And so look a little deeper and just know that shadow work is amazing because you find yourself and you become the badass being that you are. You not only empower your ancestors, you empower next generations, you empower those around you. And it's not like you're looking for it. It's not like you're like, all the cool shit I did. Instead, what you're saying is I'm living myself authentically. And as I'm empowering myself, other people feel that energy, see your story, and that empowers them. You may not always know it. I don't always know it until one of my clients tell me. And so you're empowering and you're activating and you're doing the things you're supposed to do, but you'll just think you're focusing on yourself because you are, but it's a domino effect, just like throwing a pebble in the water and it goes out like a ripple. So, gosh, I hope that made sense, and I cannot wait to talk to you next week.